in afterwards.
Yeah, no, of course, but it's just right. There we go.
Hello? Howdy?
Yes. Right, we are live and it fucking works. Yay!
Success. We've been here for 2 days.
Not that bad. Anyway.
2.5.
Hello, YouTube. I have no idea who's actually watching this, whether you're in America, New Zealand, China, or Midgard, as it's normally known. This is Ben, obviously. This is Jack. First time doing this. We don't know what we're going to ramble on about, but lots of rambling. Anyway, we love comics, as you can tell by this and that, even though that's back to front. Joys of YouTube! Yay! Anyway, so we're going to discuss pretty much everything Marvel, from the most bizarre parts of Marvel, like when Hank Pym decided to slap his wife in a comic panel, or the fact that the Hulk shagged his own cousin and made hillbilly mutants in the far future that tried to kill Wolverine.
Yeah, but there's a whole video altogether on that.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, Wolverine needs a lot more than just like 5 minutes. But
I had to explain all that to my partner, but I'm not having that conversation again.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, for most of you who watch anything comic book related, whether it's Comic Historian, Comics Explained, anything comic related, you know the general gist. But we're just going to ramble on for ages. If you like anything, if you've got anything to say, just give us a message, because we're new at this and we might screw up.
Well, at least like you've only just started going on this. I have my own YouTube channel, which like you're involved with as well. Phantasma Paranormal. If you want, go check that out as well.
But right, so first subject of today. What do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, since it's like the most recent, it's got to be Avengers. It has to be Avengers for sure.
Yep. So Avengers Endgame, good or bad?
But one thing, I was talking to I went to the barber's today, and whilst I was getting my haircut, and he actually let me in on just something which I wanted to talk to you about actually. Obviously, like when Avengers Endgame first came out and everything, and like we all saw the original film, and then I think it was like maybe a week or so after, like they released like another version, but with an additional like 20 minutes after we've been forced to sit through like 3 hours. Yeah. Those post-credit scenes. I haven't actually seen the post-credit scenes yet. Either. So, but apparently there's like all different kinds of ones, like with the Hulk when Dr. Banner runs into a flaming building to rescue some people, and then he gets like a text or like something from whoever. Yeah. Which I don't know.
See, the thing is with Endgame, it ruined Hulk for me, because the problem is like there's not been a very successful continuity version of the Hulk, because all the previous actors didn't want to come back. That was the general gist, as far as I can tell. That's why they ended up having some completely different for the Avengers and there onwards.
Yeah, but we had the actor from what's his name, Norton.
Yes, you had Eric Norton, and you had somebody Banner, who was actually Bruce Banner, which I can never remember his name.
Eric Banner.
Yes, Eric Banner, and but the thing is with Hulk is the fact that he is because the MCU was basically based on the premise of it being a bit more of a logical universe, not full-on comic.
No.
With Hulk being a full-on rage monster, it was nerfed, and it's the same with Thor, because he got nerfed as well with his character, because he wasn't an actual god, he was just an alien that was mistaken as a god thousands of years ago.
Which again, freaking ruined for me because I'm a pagan.
Exactly. But the thing is, this is the one argument I have both for DC and Marvel. When you try to make comics realistic, it doesn't work.
No.
Because the whole reason we have comics is so we can escape from normal life into a fantasy world.
Yes.
Which is full of big green smash! And on the dodgy side. But the point being is, like with Hulk, he got nerfed so much that they decided to just make him into the weakest version of the Hulk, which is Professor Hulk, because it had all the intelligence of Bruce, but all of the slight strength of Hulk, because within Hulk's, basically the way the Hulk works is that because Bruce Banner's dad was very abusive when he was growing up, he fractured his personality and psyche into different variations.
Yeah.
And so that gave the Hulk an excuse to came out when it was the Gamma Bomb, because that was one of his many personalities.
Yeah.
But originally, of course, the Hulk was grey, not green. It got changed to green.
Yeah, but it only got changed because of like they had a problem with like the printing or something. Yes. They couldn't maintain like the color of the green.
They then later on said, no, it's not anything to do with that. It was actually different personalities. So you have like thousands of variations of the Hulk, one of which is called Joe Fixit, which is a gangster Hulk.
Oh yeah, I remember that. It was like a kingpin kind of thing.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And
I thought that was great, by the way.
Yeah, but this is the point. It's like you won't get that with the MCU because they've done and dusted everything with the Hulk. Like they won't. He's not going to have a solo movie after this.
No, but he's got no chance having a solo movie.
As soon as he started dabbing with the kids, it was like, just no. The Hulk don't dab, the Hulk smash. But like I say, the problem is when you try to make films based on comics realistic, it doesn't work.
No.
But, I mean, one of the best deleted scenes I heard of, which I wish they kept, was it was going to be a subtle hint to Mystra's death, because Thanos is supposed to be obsessed with her in comics.
Yeah.
Is that because Thanos comes from 2014 to the aftermath of the snap,
yeah,
he basically massacres every single one of the Avengers from 2014, brings all their skulls to the modern day,
yeah,
and makes a throne out of it and sits on it, which is a direct panel from the comics, which I would have loved to have seen. Like just the sheer goriness of it, but no.
But this is kind of like
because it's the House of Mouse that doesn't like blood and gore.
Yeah, I know, but only thing is, like, I really think Endgame would have actually, sorry, no, forget that. Going back to Infinity War, when after the snap and everything,
yeah,
I just feel that, you know, if you're building up to Endgame, which is going to be like the coup de grace, like of Marvel, so if you're going to build up to it, you might as well try and like embrace that kind of content and make it a bit darker, embrace it. You know,
the only thing they did embrace was like the lunacy of time travel with Scott going back as a baby, and then an old man, and then back to normal. But then it's like the other thing as well. It's like the way that they did the Soul Stone. It was clever that you had to switch a soul for a soul, but it doesn't work again because the Soul Stone is meant to be with Adam Warlock, who is part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and yet they switched that up with Vision, the sex robot for Wanda, as I like to call it, because Wanda is batshit crazy, whoever you want to call her, who. Have you heard the?
I don't even know who you are.
Have you heard the synopsis about the WandaVision TV show?
No, I haven't. Actually,
basically, because Vision gets revived, but of course he doesn't have the Mind Stone anymore. He is just literally an android. He doesn't have emotions. So she basically uses her flux and magic to give him a soul.
Yeah,
and ends up becoming like opening a rift to demonic stuff. And it might be linked to Mephisto or someone else entirely. But the thing is, it's like Vision never was anything more than a robot.
No.
And it's just... I mean, they did well for the casting, for all the characters. I've got no bones about that.
I've got absolutely no issue with the casting at all.
No, but my problem I have is the way that they've approached making Ultron was Tony Stark's idea instead of Hank Pym's. Because Hank Pym was the one that created Ultron originally, and he got his mind wiped.
Yeah.
And then it was the fact that Vision was created as a way to infiltrate the Avengers, and then he revolted against Ultron. That made more sense.
Since we're gonna be talking about inventing, like only true fans will actually know this. But sorry to break a few hearts, but Tony Stark didn't actually invent the arc reactor.
No, he did not. It was just the fact that it was...
He improved on the arc reactor.
But that's the general gist with Tony Stark. A lot of people think that he designs all this stuff, but he doesn't in a degree. It's all he upgrades things. He's literally just an upgrader. That would make more sense as a superhero
It's like when I've heard some people, like even when they say they're devout Marvel fans, you get confused that no, the arc reactor is not his heart.
No,
it's not
just,
his heart. It
it's
keeps the shrapnel
from the heart because
Yeah.
it creates a magnetic field that
Like,
pushes it away from the arteries.
like after he got ambushed and bombed in the first Iron Man
Yeah.
movie.
But it's just, yeah. I mean, I think, going on a really random tangent, I think the main reason why Iron Man 1 worked so well was that it was based on the Iraq War.
Yeah.
In like loose terms. And I think from that, it made it a lot more plausible to like grasp onto this random guy that had been blown to pieces in the desert.
Yeah.
Because other than that, there was nothing else to it.
No.
I mean, for me and you, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
But to the average moviegoer, it's like, oh, billionaire, he's been kidnapped, he's got heart problems. He's going to make a mech suit to get out? What? But it made sense because it was for that time. But I can't think of any other character you could start off back in 2008 that would be relevant enough.
No.
I mean, I mentioned to Comic Storian, if you are out there, mate, it'd be nice to hear from you, but you're probably a bed now because we're UK, you are US. But my point I was going to put to him the other day was, if Marvel, the actual comics, were to completely scrap everything from continuity, because they haven't done since 1970s when Mr. Fantastic and Mrs. Fantastic got their son. Ever since then, everything's been in continuity, but everything just shelves up to the year, so it's irrelevant. But my point being is, everything got rebooted like DC does. How would you rewrite stuff to modern day? Because with Iron Man, it was easily done because it was Iraq War. You can flux that in quite well. But with Captain America, how could you make that work without it making sound like a druggy, really odd... You know what I mean? Like, with the whole premise of Captain America was that it was supposed to be him and Peggy Carter were meant to be the two best super soldiers.
Yeah.
And then they were to basically create a generation of super soldiers along the way. So then whenever America needed someone, they had super soldier kids or whatever. But of course it didn't work. But my point being is that was all based on World War II, the biggest world war there was. And unless there is going to be a World War III, which in Mark Dershon, I don't know how you'd work Captain America into modern day without it sounding like a really weird, convoluted idea.
Yeah, I understand where you're going. Yeah.
Because the thing is, with back then, like, it was normal for guys to be malnourished or whatever because they had like dysentery and God knows how much hygiene problems, but you don't have much of that now in relation to it.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't have like a very neat, like very skinny boned guy to then end up being, I'm Captain America, I can save the day by throwing a metal frisbee at you. But like, this is my point. It's like because with the film Captain America, of course, they aged up Bucky because Bucky was a kid originally in the comics. It was like Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And yet they didn't do that for the films because it's a bit dodgy. Like an older gentleman with a young kid that's barely 10, like in very, very short shorts, pissing off Nazis.
And then because of political correctness and all that shit, but I'm not getting into all that.
But there is that as well. But
yeah.
The House of Mouse was owned by a German, so that's Führer. Anyway, but it's like with Thor as well. Like, it would have been good to have the idea of gods, but there are so many gods in Marvel that people forget that there isn't just the Norse gods, there's also the Olympian gods, because this is where I'm going on a very random tangent. So, as you may have seen, there is a film called The Eternals coming out. Which has got Angelina Jolie and God knows how many other well-known cast members. The Eternals is basically Thanos' family. The Eternals were the very first humanoid beings in existence because the Celestials, which is the big robotic thing from Guardians with the metal staff and the orb, they go around the universe and generated life. So with that, they created the Eternals, and they also created Deviants. So Deviants are the Skrulls. Essentially, they are like the bad mutations of life.
Yeah.
And then you got the Eternals, which is the pure and good and godlike. The Eternals are immortal forevermore. They cannot die by any means. But because of whatever I can never remember what the continuity is with Earth life, but essentially because of the Eternals procreating with Earthlings, they generated the gods. So the first ones were the Olympian gods, so you get Hercules, Ares, and all of that.
Yeah.
And then later on the line, you get the Asgardians, so you get Odin, you get everybody else, but they don't have immortality in the same sense as the Eternals. They have long life and long longevity, but they're not strictly immortal. They can just reincarnate in the comics. In the film, I have no idea because they never really explained it, other than the fact that they were just there one day and that's about it.
Yeah.
And this is what annoys me, is the fact that the only slight explanation to any sort of real magic we've had with Doctor Strange, and that's it. And even that, they just like say, "Oh, it's just energies from other universes," which is good because that's what it was.
Yeah, that's fine, but
there is so much to Marvel with the godlike stuff that they can't use it all. But then they are going to soon, and it'll get to the point where it's like, well, how come they didn't turn up when this happened? This, and this.
Yeah.
Because I was explaining to my mates the other day about the I'm trying to think of the right name now. Living Tribunal.
Yeah.
Do you know about that in Marvel?
Not much, no.
Basically, it's a three-headed giant being that basically judges the universe, and so it tries to figure out whether a certain amount of power is too much for one person. If so, they nullify it. So it's with the first Infinity War within the actual comics, whereby Thanos obviously snaps away half a life, and they don't interfere with that. But then Nebula gets the gauntlet, and they interfere with that because she wants to warp reality to her own feet. It's like seeing, like completely dismantle it. And no, it wasn't that. It was the fact that Thanos absorbed the entire power of the Infinity Stones and thereby becoming one with the universe, but there is already an entity within the universe called Eternity, which is the living embodiment of the universe.
Yeah.
And so the Living Tribunal said, right, well, there can't be both of you. There's only one because it's too much power. So he stripped Thanos of the power and put him back to normal. But you don't get... I don't know if there is... Well, technically there is, because in Doc Strange, where he's training with Baron Mordo, he's on about the staff of the Living Tribunal.
Yeah.
With the fight scene in the temple. So it must exist to a degree, but where the fudge is it? Like,
no, that's fair point.
The thing is, the way Marvel's going is obviously it's going to be more cosmic because Guardians of the Galaxy went amazingly.
And because then you're going to have the next Guardians of the Galaxy film as well.
Yeah, and then of course you're going to have Thor: Love and Thunder, which I will talk to you about in a minute because but it's going more cosmic, which is all well and good. But then it's like, but where were they when this happened? Because
otherwise you're going to be going through the timelines on your phone going, hang on, where the fuck were they when...
Exactly. This is the thing, but there's they've got a lot of planning in the works, because of course now they've got the mutants and they got Fantastic Four back. They want to try and work that into... Yeah, this is the biggest head nod that I'm having. Because one theory I've heard, I have no idea how true it is. I don't know whether anybody can confirm it.
Yeah, go on, hit me with it. What is it?
So, in Ant-Man, there's like the quantum realm, and you see like a very odd structure of buildings in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Theory is that the Fantastic Four are part of were in the 60s, and they went in there and got stuck, and then they get brought to modern day. Because obviously the time in the quantum realm is different to outside everyone else. Because they could be in there for what they think is like, I don't know, a week to them could be like 100 years, give or take, out on the outside.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the thing is, it's all well and good saying, oh, well, they were just stuck in the quantum realm.
Yes,
but then you've had like, well, how come Reed Richards is meant to be the smartest man in the entire Marvel universe, right? So how the hell could he not devise a means of communicating with Hank Pym, the guy that made the shrinking tech, to say, "That's how we're stuck." Like it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Help! Help! It's just like you could have spent half a fucking movie to just say, "Well, we tried shouting louder, but nobody heard us." I don't think that works. Oh my Christ! This is why I'm glad I'm having this chat, because no one else would understand this.
Yeah, and but even still, that still twisted my noodle.
Yes, but yeah, the other big thing I'm having problems with is with Thor: Love and Thunder. So, do you know why Natalie Portman wasn't in Ragnarok?
Well, I only know from the real life side of things, when they was talking about like the casting and all that stuff and kind of everything that was going on like after the film came out. So I only know like the politicking side, side of things, but like, do you have another side to that?
From what I've heard is the fact that she didn't enjoy being in the films because she didn't like doing Star Wars either. She didn't like being associated with nerdy films, so that's why she sort of deviated off.
Oh yeah, despite that Star Wars is like one of the most successful franchises in bloody history.
But now she's coming back for Love and Thunder, and the only reason I can imagine is because it's a cash grab. And so the theory going,
I mean, yeah, just thinking, oh, it's like Thor going to be a standalone film, it's not going to go anywhere, and look where it's gone to like 10 plus years later.
It's like with Thor, the second Thor film, I couldn't stand it because it was bad.
I didn't like it either.
It was bad. But the point being is the fact that apparently because of her exposure to the ether, which is the reality stone, somehow she's got cosmic awareness, right? So this is an ability that allows you to detect faults with the universe, basically knowing what's going on. She somehow gets cosmic awareness and is able to shift off the snap, so she survives that, and then she ends up like seeing Thor after the blip, because there's the snap and then there's the blip. So there's that. Loki, of course, has got his own TV series coming up, and it's that version of Loki that comes into that film, and he brings along Mjolnir. And somehow, Jane Foster is worthy of Mjolnir. Now, I've got no issues about it because her story in the comics was amazing. Did you ever read it?
Yeah.
So it made sense for her to be worthy because she was around Thor for so long. She was dying of cancer. She wasn't trying to be a god. She was just trying to pick up the mantle of a fallen friend. That was the whole premise of her story while battling cancer. With the films, "Oh, save me, Thor, save me! I'm going to be destroyed by dark elves, even though I've got this powerful cosmic flipping thing thrown my hands that I can't control." Like, really? Like, I don't think it's fair to shove in female Thor just for the fact that it's for equality. You see, like, the only reason they're doing it is to try and show that women can be powerful as well.
Well, yeah.
You had Black Widow, you got Wasp, you got half the fucking Wakanda nation that are female. Like, you got She-Hulk, who's got her own TV series coming up. You got Jessica Jones.
And let me see, you've had like the Dark Phoenix as well, Jean Grey.
But there are so many powerful female characters that can have their own moment in Marvel. It doesn't have to be steal it for the guy that's got a film. You can make their own film.
It's like when that whole debacle's like starting up about like having like a female Bond, you know.
See, that's something the thing is with James Bond, I love the original ones because the whole point was it was suave, sophisticated man spy. It was sexist, it was pervy, it was dodgy.
Yeah, but mind you, but that's what was going on at the time as well.
It made sense, and I don't think Bond works in modern day because because the worst bit was the fact that they changed his drink. Because they decided that he's not going to be a vodka martini man anymore. He's going to have a Budweiser.
Yeah, but then you're going to have like diehard fans like watching James Bond. They're going to go, "Oh, Bond's lost his edge."
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you're going to do a female spy movie, which Marvel's already got in the plans, as Black Widow, why not have it?
Which I'm bloody looking forward to, by the way.
Same here. We've talked about that in a minute. But if you're going to have a female spy, have own story, have her own name.
Like, give her a completely new character.
Exactly. Give us like her own growth to develop on, because otherwise it's just literally stealing the thunder from somebody else.
Like instead of it's kind of like piggybacking off like a new already established character.
Exactly. It's just.
It's just kind of like, that just says to me that they can't come up with any original ideas.
Yes, and then the irony is that everyone goes and says, "Oh, well, all comic book films are the same." Ant-Man was a heist movie. Like, they did just as good as a heist movie, if not better, than all the God knows how many Mission Impossibles. Oh my God, it's an impossible mission. It's Tom Cruise slamming against the window, skydiving. Yeah. He survives, don't you know? And he's still only 5 foot. But this is my point. Is that everyone likes to nitpick on comic book stuff because, well, not to poke too much at DC, but you've not fucking tried. Like, for the last 30 years, it's been Batman, Superman, Batman, Superman, Batman, Superman, and just about got out of it with Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad. Actually, a lot. Well, Justice League, but I didn't give that a try because it looked fucking crap. Aquaman, I loved. Aquaman was amazing.
Aquaman, I thought was actually really well done. I loved it.
The thing is, like, DC, I don't know what they do, but they think every single comic book film they own has to be dark and depressing because I'm a hero, but I can't save everyone. Even though I can, because I'm an alien that can go at the speed of a bullet. Yeah, but
now, like, at the time of this video, like, Marvel was owned by Disney, and then obviously you got the executives there going, "Think of the children." Like...
Yeah, this is the thing. But then it's like with DC, they never had to sell any of their characters. They had every single character available to them for years, and yet they have been.
Yeah, besides, all you got to do is like see the trailer, like, without giving like so much of a backstory away, and go, "Yeah, I'm sold." Like, I can't wait.
But it's like, I was showing my mates one of the many DC streaming shows, and Doom Patrol, the most random ass characters you could ever have from DC. My mates don't understand comic books like us two.
Yeah,
they loved it. Like, it was the most random series they could ever watch, and they were in fucking tears.
Yeah.
The best scene from the entire thing. Have you watched Doom Patrol yet?
No, I've still not watched it yet.
I'll have to give it to you on memory stick later. But there's a guy in it called Flex Mantello. Basically, he's got the ability to warp reality by flexing certain muscles can make certain things happen. So he says to the group of heroes that he works with, "Look at the white space in this comic as I flex like this." And so they'd stare, and then all of a sudden, the entire street, and this street is a sentient gay street as well, down in the street. Weird, I know. But everyone in the street, including the street, has an orgasm. Literally, the guy flexes the wrong muscle and everyone starts having an orgasm. And I said to my mates, "That's the wrong white space." It's so... But this is the point. Like, this is what comics are. It's just utter lunacy.
Like, ridiculousness.
But this is what I love about comics. Like,
it's just like when, like, even when you kind of like are like our old school generation, like our parents and everything like that, who like have not lived like in like the golden age of like Marvel, when like you had films such as like when X-Men came out in like 2000 and everything. When I watched that when I was like a little kid, going, "Oh my god!" But and like obviously like you get like into this now, and then when I try like showing my parents like trying to explain these things to my parents, I go, "Doesn't this sound absolutely ridiculous?" Like, yeah, but who cares? It's amazing.
But this is the point, like I said earlier.
I was like, this isn't reality. That's the point.
The whole point of comics is it's an escapism of reality.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just.
I mean, have you ever watched like Spider-Man, for example, and wished like for a day you could be Spider-Man swinging from buildings? Like, have you not wished that?
I mean, the funniest thing about the whole original Spider-Man trilogy. So, I think it was Kirsten Stewart that did Mary Jane, or was
it was Kirsten Stewart.
So, in the very last film, she had a major falling out, I think, with the director and Tobey Maguire and some other people on set, and it was like it got so bad that there's literally a scene where she can't film with Tobey Maguire because she's so fucked up with him. They literally dressed up a mannequin in his suit, and she's swinging with the mannequin as to make it look like they're swinging through the street. Yeah, I have to find it later. But she's literally hugging onto a mannequin. Like,
unless it was a stuntman having to like CGI his face.
It's a mannequin because it's literally like the suit is because the person doesn't move at all. Like, it's so stiff and rigid.
Hang
And
on,
it's just...
hang on a second. I'm going to do this live. I'm going to search this. Hang on. No, I need to look. Wait, so it was like Spider-Man 3, you said,
yeah,
right?
Spider-Man 3, I'm pretty sure there's like a scene where she's in a Chinese dress or some sort.
So is it like Mary Jane and Peter Parker swinging like through New York?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's like towards the end of the movie or something where she's in a Chinese dress for some reason. I can never remember why.
Chinese dress, that's number 1. Oh, no. Wait, hang on. No. The Chinese dress thing, remember that she wore that in the first like film when like we first see the Green Goblin.
Yeah, but I'm sure she was back in it in the third film as well, because it was like part of her day job. Because the third film was where he like went all emo because he had venom, even though you could.
Oh yeah, because he had like a haircut like this.
No, it was worse than that, because it was literally like the wrong way round gelling. Like it was just all.
It's just so seeing it like when he went all like dark and emo, and it's just because like you have like Tobey Maguire, like he has played some serious roles.
Oh,
like
a good actor,
but let's just separate them just to Spider-Man for a second.
Yeah.
And you see him like just being like the squeaky clean like guy and everything like that, for being Peter Parker, like trying to get by, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, the good guy. And then you see him like when the symbiote takes over him. That like if you ever watched the 1990s cartoons when it takes over him, and I like the way he did that. Like it was a really good dark. But then when you see it in the like the real live action movie, you kind of go, oh god, that's gross.
He's like the ultimate douchebag, because he starts doing like the bit where he goes. And he starts serenading, like she wasn't called. Well, you couldn't say it was Gwen Stacy, but she looked like fucking Gwen Stacy.
Yeah,
I don't know why it was weird, because they couldn't say, I think, at the time, because I don't think they technically had the rights to it until Amazing Spider-Man films.
Yeah,
but yeah. Anyway, so we're going back to the Marvel chat, and. Where were we? We've gone on a random tangent, I'm afraid.
Well, if it pops up again, then we'll just stop and just get back to it. But
yeah, no, it was back on Thor: Love and Thunder. So basically, Natalie Portman didn't like being part and associated to the idea of sci-fi and comic book nerdiness.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, that she's actually gone back to it now in the new Love and Thunder, and so she supposedly gets worthy of Mjolnir, and she has cosmic awareness. I just, no, please.
No, it's just.
I mean, the thing is, like I say, it worked for the comics because she had the right to it. But with the films, like, Thor only became unworthy because he was being a complete and utter dick. And then it came to the point where, oh, it doesn't matter if you're worthy or not, because it wasn't about having the power in the hammer like it should in the comics and the natural continuity.
Yeah, but it's just that when you see that, and like even hardcore fans will just go, "Oh, so Mjolnir is basically fucking worthless then."
Yeah, and that's the thing that annoyed me, because it's like when you watch the trailers,
like just saying, like, is this a powerful object? Is this a powerful object from like history? Like,
yeah.
Well, yes. Like, is it a powerful object in like paganism? Yes. Yeah. So when you put it that way, you're going, oh, so everything you told about like Mjolnir and like the power of Thor previously is freaking worthless now.
Well, when it was like when Odin said that it wasn't about,
you got to do some serious backtracking on that.
The point Odin put across was the fact that it was a way of focusing his power. To me, it just sounded like it was just basically a magical pair of glasses, like helping focus. And if that's the point, why make it fucking happen? Like, if you're going to focus your power through something, you have it as a staff. You wouldn't have it as a hammer to bludgeon people and God knows what else.
And then they had to try and backtrack that again by making Stormbreaker.
Oh, see, with Stormbreaker, I hated the way that they did it. Did I send you the pictures of how it should have looked? I got a picture of it over here. I mean, the way Stormbreaker should have looked compared to what it did look, which was half Groot, which... I'm sorry, but Groot ain't that awesome. It's Vin Diesel as a tree.
Yeah, personally, some people love Groot, fair play to you, but personally, I couldn't care less, to be honest. Just a tree to me, living tree.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, they've fixed Groot in the comics last year, and I'll go on that in a moment. But that is how Stormbreaker should have looked.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to have a genuine handle, and it was meant to be a king's weapon. But no, because they wanted to make Groot a bit more useful than a soppy teenager on a Game Boy, which he was. Like, now it's just, it looks awful. I'm sorry. If you're going to have...
I'm sorry, but it's just that handle looks freaking terrible.
But the point being is that if you're going to have a hunk of Uru metal, which is basically pretty strong stuff that can be enchanted by anybody.
Yes.
Which is kind of like vibranium, but we'll go on.
Which obviously, as you saw Odin do in the 4th film. So.
But the thing is, like, you wouldn't have it holded up by a cosmic tree. Because the best bit is like the fact that because Groot is literally just a tree, someone could go, "Oh, I've got a flamethrower here. I'll just burn the handle and I'll take the hammer for myself."
Yeah, it was just like as soon as I saw that, like in as soon as I saw that in Avengers, when you see
E-Tree.
what's his name? Like the actor who plays
Peter Dilligan.
Yes, that's it. You know, when you see him just go the handle. Tree, help me find the handle, you know, and you just see like Rue like having his all mystical twigs and everything, like pull the thing together and cuts off his own arm. So I could probably snap his arm over my leg, and I'm just a human.
Yeah.
Like that's not realistic.
No.
Even in the fictional universe, it's not realistic.
No, because like, well, he literally cuts himself to make the handle anyway. Because he literally
and I was just like,
and he snaps himself.
And I was like, so right, if he's able to cut his own arm off, then surely
anybody can. Like I said, you can literally just like light it with.
And with the power that thing yields, you know.
The thing is, like, say for instance, I was in the Marvel universe. I had this, right? I could go. I am worthy of Stormbreaker by just burning the handle with this. Like, you see what I mean? Like,
but when you really break it down, you can actually see, it looks good on film, but if you really break it down, you only have to look into it that far to realize how like ridiculous it actually is.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, with the way Marvel's going now, they're trying to do more cosmic stuff, which I love because they now have
I'm cool with that.
That's me. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Coke Zero doesn't agree with me. Anyway, but no, the point being is with it being all cosmic stuff now, I love that because there is so much to the cosmic side of all of Marvel.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I got a problem with it being the fact that they didn't do it any sooner. Like, it took them 3 phases just to get to Guardians, if you think about it. And that was the first space movie.
That does make sense, actually, yeah.
And yet, Thor is a cosmic character. And for his first 2 movies, he was on Earth. First one made sense because it was to try and humanize it. That's fine. That made sense. Second film, it shouldn't have
It just doesn't gel.
Well, the thing is, like, they even said that during Infinity War... No, it was... it was Infinity War. Wong said, "Oh, you shouldn't have more than 2 Infinity Stones together." There was the Tesseract. There was the Ether on Earth at the same time for God knows how long. Okay. Like, how did it not blow up the Earth when you had both, probably not miles apart, because it was Norse mythology that left it there in the first place? Because Odin left it with the temple that Red Skull goes to during Captain America. That's how the Tesseract ends up there. And then the Ether was left there because of Odin's dad. Because it got locked away in a pocket dimension on Midgard, which I don't get. Like, where the fuck did pocket dimensions come from for Asgardians? If they could do that, why could they not just survive on Hela? Like, seriously, that's another thing that annoyed me with Infinity War, right? Asgardians, they are meant to be quite durable. And I'm not saying that Thanos is weak, he's pretty damn strong. But how the fuck did he decimate them so easily? I know he had the Power Stone, but that's beside the point. Like, there was Hulk there, and that as well annoys me. The fact that the Hulk got, like, smashed to pieces so quick.
I was pissed off that we didn't get a rematch.
No,
I was so pissed off with that.
But the thing is, like, everyone goes, "Oh, because Thanos is more skilled, he's a skilled fighter."
That's not...
But the point I've made with my mates is the fact that with Hulk, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. So if he's
Like, you cannot change this.
But
You
the
can't
thing is,
change
like,
that.
he was getting pissed off because he wasn't winning against Thanos. He should have grown like 4 times the size and beat Thanos.
Yeah, except just like the
And
angrier
it is Thanos, not Thanos. There is no E.
Thanos.
Thanos, like Thanos.
Except, only thing is, like, when you go back into like the comic book history, when I was googling so many different things about the Hulk, which I really wanted to know, years ago, when like the Hulk is so strong that if he gets angry enough, if he gets big enough, he is actually able to flip the gravitational poles of Earth.
Yeah.
And he's able to break the sound barrier as well.
Well, yeah, because it's like the strongest version of the Hulk is the World Breaker Hulk, and he was literally he was so pissed off that he literally landed on Earth and caused an earthquake at the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
That's what we needed in Infinity War and Endgame, not a giant green nerd trying to look cool and dab with kids that look so fucking.
Yeah, but then everybody was coming up with their theories, going like, why is the Hulk? Why didn't we see the Hulk in Infinity War? And like Banner's having like problems trying to get his big guy out. Sorry, that was not a euphemism.
That's normally for Black Widow.
Shut up. Shut up. That came out wrong.
That's for Black Widow behind closed doors.
He's trying to transform into the Hulk, should I say?
Yes.
But yeah, they're having like a Dr. Phil Jeremy Kyle thing going on where there's. But yeah, by the way, we have Jeremy Kyle here, what we used to, and that's like America's version of Doctor Who. If Dr. Phil, in case you're watching this, because we're talking about Marvel, getting my words mixed up.
See, the thing I think should have happened instead with the whole Hulk thing, what they could have done for a scene, it's like I said to you, he's got different personalities in his mind, being fractured. He could have had like a council of himself within his mind to try and reconcile with the Hulk.
Yeah, because they were saying because of his because they reckon it was because of his defeat against Thanos that he was that he receded, going like the Hulk going, I'm not strong anymore.
Yes. But like he
and because or then there was another theory that like the Hulk was fed up of coming to the aid of Banner, which you do see in the comics when the Hulk ends up being the last being left on Earth.
Yeah, because that's a great story in itself.
I love that story when where the very last word the Hulk feels cold. Yes, I love that story.
Because it's like Banner wants to try and kill himself throughout the entire thing, and Hulk won't let him die.
They do because even there's a deleted scene with Ed Norton when he tries to commit suicide, and then you see that in Avengers when he says.
No, it's still in continuity. It's not a deleted scene. It's the end of the film.
Oh, is it still in continuity?
Yeah, it's in the end of the film where he takes
him when he
goes
tries
to the North Pole.
And like says the other guy spit out the bullet.
Yeah. But the best bit about that scene, if you slow it down in the iceberg, you see Captain America.
Yeah, like I didn't believe that until I actually had to go back through Google Images, and I was like, holy shit, you can.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like the other thing with Hulk as well is supposedly he could be a Skrull in disguise, and it could be leading to Secret Invasion. Now, have you ever read Secret Invasion?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Secret Invasion is basically the Skrulls shapeshift to look like the Avengers and certain heroes and villains to take over Earth. That's a great story. It doesn't work when you make the Skrulls refugees from the Kree, because they try to make the Skrulls the good guys, because of course that's what they've been shown in Marvel, the MCU. It doesn't work trying to say, we're not going to be good guys anymore, we're going to take the fucking planet. No. Like, the one thing I wish we could see with the Hulk is Clea. Have you ever heard of Clea?
I've heard of Clea.
So basically, with all the variations of the Hulk's personality, there's one called Clea, which is basically Hulk backwards, and he only manifests when the Hulk's depressed. So the sadder Hulk gets, the more warped he looks, and he looks really demonic, like really weird.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the comic book art for that, actually. I've seen the comic book art.
If I can even find it. But like I say, there are so many variations of the Hulk personality. There's Devil Hulk, there's Joe Fixit Hulk, there's Professor Hulk, which is the weakest Hulk. And
Oh yeah, here it is. There's a juicy little nugget from there.
Yeah, so that is Clea. Now, I love to see that. I know it's not going to happen because it will scare the crap out of kids. But
Again, think of the children.
This is the problem. Like, I'm sorry, but not every comic book movie has to be PG. Deadpool proved that well and true.
Yeah,
like,
and like when they made Logan an R-rated movie as well.
But like, not every single character is going to work as PG because now they've rebooted Blade. Because this is another thing that a lot of people, I still can't believe people don't realise this, is that, everyone made the huge fuss about Black Panther being the first black superhero to come to the big screen. I'm sorry, he wasn't. It was Blade, Wesley Snipes. Because he is actually Marvel.
Yes, which a lot of people forget, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And he is part of a group called the Howling Commandos, which is a variation of the people that Captain America worked with. So you've got Dum Dum Dugan, who ironically is the same actor that played as Damien Dark in Arrow, if you ever watched Arrow.
Yeah.
Dum Dum Dugan, basically, I think it's like, after Peggy starts up the leads the SSR, she then makes S.H.I.E.L.D., and he becomes, like, second in command. He does all these covert missions, and he creates the Howling Commandos again, but it's all monsters. So you got, like, Blade will come in during the 90s, because that's when he was born, but you got, like, Werewolf by Night, and it's like a werewolf, obviously. You got Frankenstein, even though it's Frankenstein's monster, he's called Frankenstein. There's loads of different monsters in it, but this is like, I'd love to see that as well, like a lot more horror side to things.
Well, yeah, like I would love. I mean, for me, like my ultimate fantasy was like I would love to see like a R-rated Wolverine versus Hulk.
See, that's the thing, because a lot of people forget as well is the fact that the Wolverine's very first
appearance was in the Hulk.
Yes, he was, because
in 1960 something or 70 something. I can't remember exactly when.
I thought I had it on the poster. I swear I had it on the poster. But basically, it was them two fight each other and then fighting a Wendigo, because Wolverine sniffed him out and Hulk's the only one that can actually see him.
Because I think, if I remember correctly, in the original comic book, I think like Wolverine wasn't he just an agent for the government?
For the Canadian government.
Yeah.
And at the time, the idea was the fact that the claws wasn't going to be a part of it.
They were going to be just the gloves.
Yes. And then they changed things up in the long run, which I'm glad of, because I don't think you could logically say, let me put my gloves on. Just swipe me hand. Just swipe me other hand. Like, it wouldn't work.
Oh, yeah, like Wolverine walking off to the cupboard going, wait there, fuckface.
Let me just...
Oh, you're going to get it in a minute. Hang on, wait, don't go anywhere. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's gone.
But, I mean, this is the thing, like, there's a lot of things with comic characters that have changed over the years, and some of it good, some of it bad. But there are some things that you just can't change.
No.
And I think the problem is like, it's all well and good trying to make it logical to new viewers.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's a formula which you cannot change.
Yes. Like, I'm trying to think, what?
Like, did Stan Lee come up with all this for nothing?
Well, the thing is, it wasn't all just him, obviously.
No, I know.
But it was part in him and part of Steve Ditko and everyone else. But I'm just trying to think, like, what else would be, like, a really good story to have? Because, like I said, we're all getting these, like, cosmic stuff now with the next phase of stuff with Marvel.
Yeah.
And we've got Black Widow's movie coming out. Apparently, Tony Stark is coming back for that. So we got Robert Downey Jr. for that. Now, I know you can de-age people with CGI.
Wait. So, right, because you got to answer me this question, because I generally don't know. But, where in the timeline is there going to be the Black Widow movie?
Well, I'm assuming it's before Iron Man 2, because it's all the prequel, because obviously she died during Endgame. So it's got to be like a prequel thing like it was with Captain Marvel, which doesn't work. I'm sorry, this is another issue. I hate when they try to do prequel movies just to fill up gaps, because you time constraint in the movie universe.
Yeah, but then you're opening up a whole new series of questions now that
Exactly. But
and then even some of the answers don't make sense either.
Because it's like apparently the main bad guy in the Black Widow movie is going to be Taskmaster. Do you know much about him?
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, which there's only one of you actually watching this, a shame, is basically he doesn't have many abilities other than the fact that he can remember anyone's moves from the first time that they actually fight, and then he can counteract it because he's got like pretty much a photographic memory when it comes to like fighting. Why couldn't they have had that for a Captain America villain instead of Black Widow? Because, well, I mean, Taskmaster is actually a Captain America villain because he has a shield, exactly like Cap's, but with a T on it instead of a sun.
Yeah.
But I got no bones about Black Widow. Great actress, great character.
Yep, no issue there.
But I got a feeling that we're not going to get much in the way of the Red Room, which I think they should do, which is basically her being programmed.
Yeah.
Because then it could also explain how she knows Bucky. Because, during the Civil War movie, and she and Bucky are fighting because he's been hypnotized to operate again. And she goes, "You should know me. Why are we fighting?" But she's not known him in the previous film properly, so she wouldn't say that unless she was in the same training as him. If not, he trained her.
Yeah.
So with that logic, because of course Winter Soldier predates her,
yeah,
the brainwashing techniques would be the same as hers, but she somehow broke it. Maybe it's because someone else did it, and so she was weaker. Well, it was weaker or whatever. But that would mean that they should have some sort of connection beyond just.
Well, yeah, you'd think.
But in the comics, they do actually have a relationship at one stage when he takes over the mantle of Captain America. I think them two.
Which I wish would have happened instead of Sam.
Yeah, I mean, with the Winter Soldier and Falcon TV show, he's not actually going to be Captain America.
That's one of the problems. That's one of the only problems I had with Endgame. When I just thought, before it, I was thought, yes, we're going to see Bucky take up the mantle finally, and then I went, no.
This is the thing, with Bucky, it would have made more sense as a redemption arc because he was brainwashed to be a super soldier that he had no control over. He lost one of his arms,
and obviously that he had that relationship and everything with Captain America with Steve Rogers.
Exactly, they were childhood friends.
For me, that makes sense,
But that's the point, is the fact that he was more worthy of being it than, this is just some random dude that I surpassed God knows how many times in a circle when I was out on a jog.
And then obviously you had Cap who goes doesn't in time, but then decides to remain there to be with Peggy Carter.
Yes.
Yeah? And then obviously you have the old one, which, for anybody who doesn't know this, when you see the old Steve Rogers at the end of Endgame, he's actually something like 108 years old.
111.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was also at the funeral for Peggy. So where modern Cap is holding on to it.
This still twists my noodle.
So, the directors from MCU have basically said that Cap went back in time. Yes, it was the old guy. So you got the casket, you got modern Cap at the front right, and then you got an old guy in the left back corner. That's old Cap. So they said that apparently he went back in time and then didn't do anything. He didn't change any of the timeline.
Right. So what was the point?
But my point being, he could have changed the timeline and then still come back to the right time as an old man, or even a different day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they even said that even though you'd make a different timeline, so you got timeline. That's what it was. Cap goes back in time to there, and he could have done gone back to there and gone back to what it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, apparently, he went back in time, had Peggy as his wife, and nothing.
And then lived happily ever after that. Yeah.
But the thing I said to someone at my work the other day, it should have opened up the doors to so much more if he were to alter the timeline, because he knew what was going to happen. Yes, he couldn't prevent Howard Stark and Maria Stark's deaths because that's too chaotic. But he could have looked into the idea of mutants. He could have research stuff like James Howlett, this Lucky James that he suddenly finds that keeps coming back. Because for a lot of people that don't know, Wolverine was actually part of the original Howling Commandos with Captain America in the original continuity. And the idea was that back then they didn't know what mutants were. There was just this guy called Lucky James that every time that he seemed to have been blown to pieces, he would come back the next day completely fine.
Oh yeah, Lucky James. Wasn't he kind of like had this bad boy thing, and like there was like a version of Wolverine that used to wear an eye patch as well, from what I remember.
I don't
something
know.
Similar. If I remember where it is, then I'll show it.
But the point being, like, no one knew what mutants were. He was just Lucky James that survived every single cataclysm.
But apart from that,
and then years later on, when he forgets his memory and then gets it back, he remembers working with Cap. Now, I'm not saying that they could have had him in like World War II with Cap, but they could have, like, years later on down the line, he could have met him on a mission, and then something would have happened. And because of his history, knowing that what will happen in the world, you go, hang on a minute, this doesn't seem right for this era. And he could have delved more into the mutants, and then he could have found a way of perhaps knowing where they all were, and then by some weird logic, when he comes back to modern day, say, by the way, guys, there's all these people that I've tried to keep safe because they may not be accepted because they're mutants. Because there was a deleted scene in Iron Man 1 with Fury, you know, where he says, confronts Stark, saying it's bad enough that there's a billionaire roaming around in the mech suit that should be the government's, along those lines.
Yeah.
Basically, the line that he did say was, I've seen mutants, I've seen radioactive spider people swinging from New York street buildings, let alone a billionaire flying around in the rust bucket of a mech suit. It was the hint towards a bigger thing, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have them at the time. And it's just like, but this is the thing I'm trying to figure out. How are they going to work in mutants and Fantastic Four? You can't just say, oh, they've been here all along. Where the fuck were they? It doesn't work like that. And it's just, I don't know, because it's all well and good saying, oh, Xavier hid everyone from their knowledge of mutants. Fine.
Right,
but Xavier's not, he is powerful, but he's not that powerful because you can't sustain that blankage for decades.
No, exactly. When you had characters like Apocalypse, for example,
yes,
who are definitely a lot more powerful than Charles Xavier was.
Oh, definitely. See, that's the other thing as well. It was good to have Apocalypse in the X-Men Fox series, but there's a lot more to him, and they did screw it up a lot in the film.
A lot?
Yep. So
that's like saying the Arctic's a bit cold.
Well, yeah. So basically, he was immortal. He didn't age.
No.
But in the film, he was a wrinkly old man that got a new body from someone that had a healing factor, like Wolverine back in ancient Egyptian time.
Yeah,
but no, he doesn't have that. Why was he purple? Why did he look like some Power Ranger villain? He's not meant to be purple. He's meant to be grey-skinned.
Yeah.
But basically, his main ability is the fact that he has unlimited alteration to his own DNA because he's an unstable molecule in a sense, and is able to generate his own. Well, he can generate his mass to match that to anyone, and can do anything.
Yeah.
And then that bizarre suit
that's just what you were talking about there.
Yes. So that's what he should have looked like, grey skin, and that suit is actually made from Celestial, which is the big robotic being thing from Guardians.
And that was the one we got.
Yeah. But that suit is basically Celestial technology, which advances powers to give him every single ability.
Yeah.
And he wasn't jumping from host to host like it was in the film. He had every
Yeah, but
ability.
he didn't need to.
No. That's why I couldn't understand what was the point.
It's like when I saw X-Men Apocalypse, I was just like like at the start of the film, in the first 5 minutes, I was going, no, hang on, what the hell's this?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the only I can't remember why, because he put himself to sleep for like thousands and thousands of years, and then he got woken by.
Yeah. Oh.
He was awoken by Jean because she got the Phoenix Force. That's how he came back.
Yeah.
So that's what I don't understand, because I don't think they explain it that well in the film, other than the fact that someone excavated his tomb and he got awoken from that. By that logic, how come he didn't wake up in the previous films? Because
no, that's a fair point. Yeah.
the only thing that altered slightly is the age group of the actual X-Men, because in the original 90s one, Jean Grey in 1973.
Oh, this is the thing I get really arsey about.
She's like, what, 6, 7 at the time? And then it's like 1979 in the first Apocalypse. And she's somehow 17 in the space of 3 years.
Yeah, but need to remind everybody is that a good way to remember like the timelines and everything is that Wolverine died in the year 2023, right? That's the thing to remember.
Yes.
2023. So then when you like go through that timeline, then you have the other separate ones, which are the films after the original X-Men ones. The ages just, they're like this. They don't. Yeah. There's no consistency at all.
No, and this is my point. Like when they do bring in the X-Men for the MCU, how is it going to make any sense? Like, how are you going to say
it? Don't make any sense to me.
Because the thing that makes me laugh, right? Did you ever hear about Inhumans?
Yes.
So basically, the reason why Inhumans in the comics were made was because Marvel couldn't do anything as any adaptation with the mutants because it was all owned by Fox. So the only way that they tried to make something slightly similar was doing Inhumans.
Yeah.
And one of the weirdest things with Inhumans, of course, is that they only get abilities through the Terrigen Mist.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Terrigen Mist kills mutants. Yeah. So this is what I can't understand. If that's the case, how come 90% of the population doesn't fucking die in Marvel Comics? Because there's God knows how many mutants. I mean, they die, they've been revived, they die, they revived. It's a mindfuckeroo. Like the amount. I mean,
any weed smokers out there, don't watch that when you're stoned. My God.
The thing that I love about Deadpool, when he mentions about the mansion, I'm surprised it's not blown up this time, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
A lot in the comics, and it's like that's a good point, but the thing is, it's like it's hard to try to make the mutants work when you don't even know where they are, because it's all one good saying, "Oh, they're in a different dimension."
Yeah, fair enough, but
that seems just a bit of an easy explanation of just saying, "Oh,
yeah, but
just in a different reality."
Yeah, but that's just a get out clause for me.
But it's like, I'm sure they'll come up with a really clever idea. Whether or not it will work, I have no idea.
Yeah, who's to say?
But I mean, I've been waiting to hear from the idea of mutants being with the Avengers, because the best story that they have is Avengers versus X-Men, where there's a mutant that basically blows up a school because of his unstable powers, and so they decide to register all mutants.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's on the back end of Civil War, which is what the Civil War thing was like. Cap's like, no, we don't need to register people, and Tony Stark's like, yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
But like, I don't think we're ever going to get that either. I mean, the thing is, the only stories that you ever get with mutants, I love the characters, don't get me wrong, they have great characters.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But every single comic story is, they're trying to wipe us all out. They're going to kill us. We got these giant robots that are trying to kill us. Please save us. That's it. That's literally.
That's pretty much it.
They have so many variations. Like there's House of X, which is the latest story of it.
Yeah.
And Moira McTaggart, the love interest of
Charles Xavier,
she's now declared as a mutant. So her ability, I don't understand how this works. Her ability is the fact that every time she dies, she remembers everything she's done for her life, and then it goes back to when she was just a kid, and she grows up again with all these memories. And so she meets Xavier, and explains each time, like, all the stuff that they've done to try and stop the Sentinels being built so they can't be killed. Because you got Sentinels, you got Mother Molds, you got Master Molds, and then you got Nimrod.
Yeah.
Nimrod is like the most powerful Sentinel. It's like basically an entire army of Sentinels in one. It's got its own artificial intelligence. It's literally
like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You know?
But the thing is, it's like with mutants, I love the characters. I think some of the ideas that they've done for character powers are amazing. But what else can you do to them other than saying, oh, we're going to hunt them down because they got powers? Right.
Yeah,
but what are you going to do with them after
it's like, yeah, but are they posing a threat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like they've done so many variations over the years.
I mean, basically, like, the way that it really, if you break it down, like, the way it comes across in, like, X-Men 3 and, like, in, like, the films after that, when they're saying that they want to wipe out all mutants and everything, which is why they invented the cure and everything like that. But it's basically kind of, plays with the theme of, like, going back to, like, World War II, for example, when you had the Holocaust, which was trying to wipe out Jews. But it's kind of a little bit of a play on the same thing, like wiping out the mutants, just because they're different.
But then it's like X-Men Last Stand. That in itself was a cop-out, because there is no known mutant that has that ability. It was just a random crapshoot in the film. But then the worst bit was, like, Magneto does it, that gets the cure, and then at the end of the film, he gets his powers back.
Yeah.
He's an old man. His immune system doesn't fucking work.
But only thing is, like, it's when you have to go back to the first film when it explains, like, the evolution of mutants, and, like, the mutants are the more evolved Homo sapiens, which is us. You know, so they're basically our more evolved kin. So how can you cure, like,
evolution?
So like, how can you cure evolution? Like, how do you do that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That does not make any sense. You can't cure a mutation. If, like, mutants are our more evolved kin, you cannot cure that.
See,
in my opinion, personally.
In my mind, the best way to bring in mutants is to have them weaponized as part of the MCU, and then say the new Avengers, which could consist of Bucky, Falcon, and whoever else, free them all, and then it goes from there. So instead of them being hunted down to kill, they're hunted down to weaponize.
Yeah.
Which would be a lot more interesting, because then you could be like, okay, so who are the good guys, who are the bad guys? Because it's just a mass cataclysm of powers. Nobody knows who to trust. All you know is that...
Yeah, so it's like when you have like, kind of, like, multiple anti-heroes,
yes.
You know?
But that's the thing, like, with mutants, that's the only other way you can write them, is that they are unpredictable time bombs.
Yeah.
But they don't do many stories like that. They're just always being hunted down. And I think that's mostly down to the 90s TV series. Because if you remember the original 90s TV series, the main thing was Sentinels. That was all there was, because it was in the actual intro.
Yeah.
That was all there was to it. But, I mean, I'm trying to think. Because the thing is, it's like Quicksilver. See that as well with Quicksilver, the way that they killed him off, I didn't understand that. Like, I'm not saying he's a speedster like the DC comic version, where he can go, like, God knows how quick.
He doesn't have any superpowers. He just takes meth.
but with Quicksilver, like, he is meant to be incredibly quick.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is it that the MCU version can't dodge bullets, but then you watch the Fox version and he's literally just bing, bing with bullets? And he's just like...
You know, just making it look effortless,
yes.
You know?
But this is the thing, like... I don't know how anything's going to be remedied with mutants, because even Scarlet Witch isn't technically a mutant in the MCU. I don't even think she's got magic. Like, all she has... This is another thing I don't understand. Like, her powers come from the Mind Stone.
Yes.
And so does Quicksilver's. How the fuck does he have speedster powers from a Mind Stone? I know they said, they used the Mind Stone to unlock their mind.
I know that, but that still doesn't.
No, like, you can unlock anybody's mind. It doesn't mean that you're gonna get like super soldier serums, like strength or whatever. That was the whole point of it when they got there. What they did was to recreate.
It could just mean like your power might mean you have higher intelligence. You know, like.
Well, that's given with most people, but anyway. But no, it's like the only ability she's shown in the MCU is Jean Grey's, which is telekinesis, which is moving stuff with her hands.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, but every time she does that, I think she's playing with a slinky. Like, or an accordion, like a really tiny accordion. That yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, like, I've watched behind the scenes without the CGI, and it makes me laugh. Have you seen Doc Strange?
I've seen it. It's hilarious.
It's amazing. Like,
if you've not watched it, you have to see it. It's gold.
You see these grown ass men in the middle of New York City, and they just go. Like, at least with Captain America, he has a shield. You can get a rough idea of what he's meant to fight. But it just looks so funny seeing stuff without CGI. But the other thing as well, back to Hulk, is that we were supposed to have gotten a hobo Hulk. So the idea was that because he was so depressed with being defeated from Thanos, he ends up having really long hair and growing a beard, and he has like a hobo Hulk and a stick in a bag, like full of stuff like a proper hobo. That was what we were supposed to get, apparently.
What, for Infinity War?
I think it was part of either Infinity War or Endgame, one of the two. But instead, we get Hulk, and that was it. Like, because, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get any more Hulk movies. We're going to get She-Hulk as a TV series, which I think kind of work.
Which, yeah, I am quite looking forward to.
Because the thing is, of course, she's a lawyer. In my mind, it's like it's going to be a cross between Law and Order and Hulk Smash.
Yeah.
Like, Hulk bring order, Hulk bring law. Law and Order Hulk.
Yeah, but it's just then you're going to have to, like, explain, like, how she has, like, her... Even though she's Hulk, how she has her humanness still,
well, that's
you know?
the thing, because I think the only way they're going to get around it is, like, they're going to say, because Bruce has now accepted the Hulk within himself, he gives a blood transfusion to her, because that's how she got her powers in the first place.
Yes, but still, if you're infected with gamma blood, you know...
This is what I don't understand. Like, a lot of...
It's like you just can't chop and change things when you feel like it.
I mean, it only works because they're blood related, but it's cousins. Like, it's slightly deviated.
And then in the comics, they do a whole incest thing, and then Wolverine and Hawkeye.
Like I say, there's Hillbilly Hulk, which is hilarious.
Which, personally, that comic does make me laugh when I read it.
But the other thing as well is, I don't think we're ever going to get Red Hulk either.
No,
I wish we could.
I do.
But the thing that I was watching Comic Story the other day, and of course, back when Red Hulk first came along, everyone thought it was a new version of the Hulk. It wasn't like a separate personality. I always find it odd that when he becomes the Hulk, he gets rid of the mustache, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
But then it grows back when he goes back to normal. So how does that work? Because the difference between Red Hulk and Green Hulk is the fact that the madder he gets, the hotter he gets, not the stronger. Because he literally like burns himself out. So if he gets too mad, he'll literally pass out and go back to General Ross. With that in mind, how does a mustache grow back? I mean, this is called one mighty ass mustache that got better.
Oh yeah, like all the things that we've spoken about for the last hour, and we're like really desperate to know about a fucking mustache.
I must ask you about this, though, to be fair, but yeah, I'm sorry, it had to
right, I'm off.
Yeah.
Oh, play on the lights there.
Oh, I think I may have unplugged.
Oh god.
Ah, fuck. That's right. I'll fix it later. Anyway, so yes, we got to deal with Red Hulk. How the hell that's going to work, I don't know. Just opening that section.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think Red Hulk would ever happen.
No.
And then the other thing as well, we're never going to get Scar. which is Hulk's son from Sakaar, which is what we saw on Thor Ragnarok. I mean, there's a lot of stories where it's been blipped over and we just didn't get to see it. Like I say, Hulk's not been a prominent character. He's just been a throw-in, just to say, oh, he's still here.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just like it kind of like diminishes like Hulk's like mystique, you know?
Well, it's like, because when we first see him in Avengers, of course, he doesn't say much.
No.
And the running theory was the fact that because Bruce has more control over him, he doesn't get to evolve like his abilities, like his speech or much, which is why he doesn't say much. That I think is a good idea, because then it comes to like the idea, the running idea.
How he's somehow able to like bring the Hulk out at will.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the idea with like Ragnarok was the reason why Hulk spoke more was because he was Hulk for so long. He learned how to speak properly, so he spoke like a toddler, like Hulk this, Hulk that.
Yeah.
But he was learning more. It made sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then you go to Endgame, and then somehow back in Avengers, where it's like they're in the Stark Tower getting Loki, and Hulk that gets pissed off with the lift. He's fluent, like he's doing Hulk this, Hulk that, and it's like, well, hang on. Then if he's able to speak like that, how come he never said anything in Age of Ultron? Because he doesn't have to say anything in that.
Yeah, actually, yeah, good point. Yeah,
because all you see is
I
him
never
going,
thought of that actually.
and then you have like Black Widow say, "Hello, big guy." The sun's getting real low, and that's it. Like he doesn't speak at all as Hulk throughout the entire film. He's just literally the rage monster, which goes a bit too berserk because Wanda messed with his mind. And that was it. Like, he doesn't speak throughout the entire film. And it's just like, so what's the point of having Hulk if you can't even use him right?
Yeah.
It's just.
Right. Well, moving on from that, just before, because I got to shoot off very soon.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, something which like I've been seeing a lot online, absolutely a lot, and I don't know why it's such a much asked question on Google or whatever. I have no idea why, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about anyway. But obviously, you know, like in the first incarnation of like the Mark 1, Mark 2, 3 of like the Iron Man suits and everything, the first suit, which is the one he built in the cave and everything, when he was developing and reconfiguring like the arc reactor to like obviously keep him alive, stop the shrapnel going to his heart, blah blah blah. And just like obviously the arc reactor is the thing which powers the Iron Man suit. Yeah. So in a way, and also little side fact as well, which I found out yesterday, that a real life arc reactor is in development right now, and which like even that tiny little thing that Tony Stark has in his chest is enough to like power an entire city.
Yeah.
And if it's able to harness more power, maybe possibly the whole of the United States, you know. But when you go into like the Mark 1, which is all about the purposes of keeping Tony alive, and then you go to like Iron Man 3 when he gets surgery to have all the shrapnel removed and everything, and then people were confused of why he still had the arc reactor.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, it doesn't actually have a use for him for keeping him alive. It doesn't have a use at all. It just powers the suit, and he just kept it just for that because it's an iconic Iron Man. You can't imagine Iron Man without the arc reactor. But then when you have like the first few suits, which are all about keeping him alive, but then the very last suit, the Mark 50, is not about keeping him alive at all. Well, it's far from that.
It's Mark 85 in Endgame is what the last one is.
Yeah.
Mark 50 is the one in Civil War. But no, the whole point of the Mark 85 was it was not about keeping him alive. It was being able to take the stones from his gauntlet that he made with Hulk.
Yeah, because then you were seeing about like, oh my god, why did Tony die from like snapping his fingers? And it was just like, thing is, don't forget, he's nothing special. He's just a regular person. And like when they're wondering why the Iron Man suit can keep him alive, well, it's not designed to keep him alive.
It's just it's meant to sort of sustain the energy from the power.
And obviously, that amount of energy from snapping his fingers, like that that's going to kill him. You know, well, there's no. I just don't know why there was that amount of confusion. But
the thing is, they did explain in the film anyway, is the fact that the majority of the radiation from each stone was gamma, which is why they gave it to Hulk to bring everyone
Yeah, because they
back.
thought it'd be the ideal person to wield
And it did
yeah.
work because he didn't die from it. He absorbed
No.
most of it. And I
They say he
this-
burnt his arm. Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's another thing that annoys me is the fact that why would it burn his arm? Because the one thing Hulk does is he can absorb gamma radiation into himself,
and he has a healing factor as well.
Yes, but yeah. Anyway, the Mark 85 wasn't designed to be battle worthy. It was to be a way of siphoning off the stones because
Yes.
he knew what was going to happen as a backup. That was the whole.
Like
what Tony Stark does is he always has a backup. That's his whole.
And plus, like, Tony Stark was fully aware that wielding those stones, he was going to die. He was fully aware that he could die.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like the look that he gave Doc Strange when he literally just got his ass whooped. Is that Strange literally goes like that. To
was
say,
like
hold on.
14 million different scenarios.
Variations,
Yeah.
And he basically holds his finger up like that as in
saying like, this is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the one in 14 million.
But the thing is, like, the whole reason why it all went like that was like it all started on Iron Man being a selfish jerk, and it all ended up being him.
But then, like, it just made sense for Tony Stark to be the one to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because there was nothing more you could do with Iron Man.
No.
As great as Robert Downey Jr.
Although I will admit, when I saw the funeral of Tony Stark, I cried my freaking eyes out.
Yes.
I will admit, I cried my eyes out.
But like, there was nothing more you could add to his character.
No.
Because while I love the third film, I do hate the fact that they screwed up, and they have reconciled like screwing up the Mandarin.
Yeah, that was royally.
Well, they got Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, which is going to be next year.
Yeah.
And it's going to have the Mandarin in it. So the actual Mandarin, because at the end of the third Iron Man movie, obviously you got the weird guy that pretended to be him in jail.
Yeah.
And it's called All Hail the King. And basically there's this guard that comes up to his cell and he says, I'm here to kill you because you've been pretending to be my master, along those lines. And he goes, what do you mean? And you just see the emblem of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
So it does exist.
Yeah.
But the Mandarin, why couldn't they have done that? Because he's one of few non-tech villains that Tony Stark has. I mean, Justin Hammer, he was great in the second one. Like, when he does the Stark Expo and he's like really cocky, I love that.
Yeah.
But where was he for the rest of it?
I just love like even in the film when he's drunk off his face when he has that fight with Rhodes and everything. He's wearing the Iron Man suit. I thought that was funny as well.
Yeah. Because then it's really funny the fact that it's literally Black Widow comes along and helps him because he's getting lead poisoning from the arc reactor. That's because the arc reactor is killing him while sustaining him, and then Black Widow gives him something to stop it because they're in the donut shop, if you remember.
Yeah.
But
that's just the end. Like even going like flipping back to the arc reactor for a second. Like, cause you see, like at the end of the film, when Tony Stark gets the surgery to like have all the shrapnel removed, like from his chest and everything. But then there's a lot of people asking. I was included in asking this question. Why did he not have that surgery like in the beginning?
Because, I mean, the thing is, it depends on. I don't know if they definitively said how long it is between each.
Unless
film.
maybe they couldn't have found like maybe in the first two films, like in the timelines, like maybe there wasn't a doctor qualified enough to do it. Maybe because the surgery hadn't have been like invented yet. I don't know.
I think, from what I know, Iron Man 1 and 2 are supposed to be like months apart, and then it's like Avengers is meant to be like a couple months after that.
Yeah.
And then Thor happens around the same time as Iron Man 2. I know that much.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the fact. I think it's like barely a year into Tony Stark having the arc reactor in his chest that there's Avengers. If you think about the timeline of it all.
Yeah.
So then, with that being a given, then you got Iron Man 3, which takes like an entire year. I think it's like an entire year in the film, give or take. But I know it's New Year's when it's the end of the film.
Yes.
And I think it's possibly July, if not midway through that year. All I know is it's New Year's at the end of Iron Man 3. So by my reckoning, it's about a year and a half of him having that in his chest. If not 2 years.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a long time having it in his chest, but then it's him also finding out like what he can do with the suit, because he also does it like use it against the terrorists, and then he is also trying to stop everything in Iron Man 2 with Whiplash, which, yeah, don't ever talk about that again, because that was god awful.
Well, the one really cool thing, which when you look up the behind the scenes of in the first Iron Man movie, when Pepper Potts is like having to like replace like the arc reactor and everything like that, that scene is not CGI. It was done for real.
Well, what they did is they made
it's because
the cast mold of his
like
chest.
he is sat in a chair, but like he's at an angle and the chest is like here.
Yeah.
Like the prosthetic chest.
Well, no, what it is like they put a chest over his chest.
Yeah.
And then it's literally, it looks like a Pringle tube that's empty there. That's pretty much how it worked.
Yeah. That is basically what they did. Yeah.
But the other thing as well with Iron Man, because he's got his daughter, which I don't think he ever had a daughter in the actual comics, is she could become a character called Ironheart. So Ironheart in the comics is this random black girl that ends up making her own Iron Man suit, and then Tony Stark gives her an Iron Man suit, and then she alters it.
Yeah, obviously you had Iron Man, War Machine, Rescue, which Pepper Potts. Yeah.
There's so many different variations.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a lot of things that I wish they could have done more with Iron Man, but I don't.
Yeah, but I don't think we'd get it really.
No,
because I feel like that story's been told.
I mean, there's a story where Tony Stark makes a cyborg clone of Thor called Ragnarok, and I mean, he also makes his own like Thor Buster suit where Thor gives him like this really powerful cosmic energy source, and he creates a Thor Buster suit. Behind the scenes of Iron Man 3, he actually does have a Thor Buster suit, but you never see it. But it looks exactly like the Destroyer armor from the first Thor movie. And it's just literally an Iron Man 1 suit with loads of spikes on.
Yeah.
But you never see it.
No.
And the thing that I hate about Iron Man 3, I got all of the different suits on my laptop. I can show you perhaps in a minute. But I think they did. When it came to that film, it was 45 variations of the suit in total when it came to Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
I would say probably 20 of those are individual, like, unique ideas. The other 25 are just mishmash of other ones. And you just like, well, if you can't think of all the suits, look online. There's so many different suits.
I've seen all the suits, yeah.
The best one I love of all, and they never said it in the film, was like his first aqua suit. Do you know what it's called?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Rubber ducky armor. I know. It's brilliant. Like the rubber ducky armor. But they don't call it that in the film.
I wish they would have kept that in. Like,
but this is the thing. Like, there's so many funny names that he gives the suits, but they don't go by that in the film. They just sort of.
Which are like, why wouldn't you have done? Like, why not embrace that little bit of humour?
I've got one over there, which is Red Snapper.
Yeah.
And I've not taken it out of the box because.
Yeah, don't you dare.
But that's one of few like genuine alternative suits that they had in the film. Other than that, the others are literally, there's one where it's half of that suit as like the arm piece, and then it's like another mishmash of another suit. That's not individual suits. That's just going copy and paste, copy and paste.
Yeah.
Like, anything else, or should we wrap this up?
Well, I need to wrap it up in just a sec. But one thing which I did search, which I really am excited to get this out actually, even though some people might already know it. But yeah, one thing. Did you know that with all the power and everything which is inside of Iron Man's suit, the arc reactor and so on, that is enough like to power like a NASA spacecraft to launch from Earth, and also plus like not even just including the arc reactor. That's like a pretty penny in itself. But the whole Iron Man suit is roughly within the range of maybe like 10 billion or 11 billion, I think. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, like that's a gigantic amount of money. But then again, like Tony Stark's not a millionaire; he's a billionaire.
Yes.
He has a shit ton of money.
Yes.
Like...
Right. Well, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything else?
No, I don't think so. Apart from Levy 3000. Had to say that.
Yeah, I mean, whoever's been watching us, thanks. I mean, you could have messaged something, you could have said anything, but we'll try this again at some point and hopefully get some better kit because this camera on this laptop is.
Make this a regular thing.
Yes, no, I can definitely agree on that, but we'll try again at some point, and yeah, so.
Laters.
Thanks for joining, and